Farmers in India have been striking since November of last year, and they're not letting up. And unfortunately, Narendra Modi, the leader of India, is also not letting up in his efforts to deregulate farming. And unfortunately, this deregulation does hurt small farmers in the country who are being taken over by massive agriculture corporations and conglomerates. Now, under the new policies that were implemented by Narendra Modi, farmers will now sell goods and make contracts with independent buyers outside of government sanctioned marketplaces, which have long served as the primary locations for farmers to do business. The government says the reforms will bring much needed investment to the farm sector, which accounts for nearly 15% of India's $2.9 trillion economy and about half its workplace. And so there's people's livelihoods are on the line as a result of this deregulation. We have a quick video providing some more details, and when we come back, I'll tell you just how much their livelihoods are at stake here.
Protesters in India blocked roads, squatted on railway tracks, and protested on the streets after a call for a nationwide protest by farmer unions Tuesday. Amidst the pandemic, tens of thousands of farmers from North India have made these highways leading to India's power center Delhi their makeshift homes. The young and old braving the cold, sleeping on roads and tractors. They want new agricultural laws introduced by the Indian government in September to be repealed. Farmer unions say they won't budge till the government relents and rolls back on the contentious laws. Until then, highways to Delhi will stay blocked and food supplies to the country's capital remain largely cut off.
So again, the protesters are not letting up, but Narendra Modi is also not, caving to any of their demands. And just to give you a sense of why this is so disastrous for small farmers in India, the government has said that it will not drop minimum support prices for essential crops like grain, which the Indian government has set and guaranteed for decades. The farmers are concerned they will disappear. Without them, the farmers believe they will be at the mercy of large corporations that will pay extremely low prices for essential crops, plunging them into debt and financial ruin. So that's why you're seeing these protests continue in India. And Cenk, I'll tell you a little more later about how the government has unfortunately responded to these protesters with violence and surveillance.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting story with a lot of complexity. So first of all, let me note that ironically, you have something really simple happening at the same time. That's an old school siege, but instead of sieging a castle, they're sieging the capital. Because in a siege, what you do is you cut off the food supply. So that's what is the weakness of the castle. If they can't leave and they can't get food in, at some point they have to surrender. So they're doing this on a mass scale in a sense in India. Well, you know what? The one thing we have as farmers is the food. You have the money, we have the food. Can we make a deal? So that's using your power, and that's using it in a smart way and a courageous way. And I would argue the Indian way. Remember, Mahatma Gandhi led civil disobedience and peaceful protests in a way that was historic and was a shining light for us here in America. Martin Luther King copied what Mahatma Gandhi was doing. So now the complexity. So there's the politics of it. It's rural versus urban. So 50% of the population are still farmers and make their money from farming in India. So that's where the voters are. But only 15% of the GDP comes from farming. So 85% is elsewhere, and that's where the money is. So guess which side politicians are going to be on? Now, it doesn't really matter almost which party or which country. You know they're going to be on the side of the money, right? And so that's what's happening here. And Modi's right wing, and if they're right wing, they're definitely on the side of the money. Now, the only reason why there's a complexity on the substance is because sometimes you do have to modernize. But do you trust crony capitalists to modernize fairly? My answer is hell no. I don't know how you do it otherwise. So that's a really hard question. But I know that saying, oh, don't worry, the people being funded by big business will have the best interest of the little guy and the farmers. is not the right strategy, and almost certainly will not work, will lead to bigger pain.
So the New York Times noted that around 60% of India's 1.3 billion people depend on this farming in order to survive. So I hear you where you say that modernizing makes sense, but not in a way that gives into crony capitalism and investment from these multinational corporations, especially when you know that literally like millions of people, hundreds of millions of people in India could find themselves deeper in poverty through these deregulatory efforts. And the way that the Narendra Modi government has responded to these protests is exactly what you would expect from, quite honestly, someone like Modi, who's been absolutely vicious to the Kashmiris, who has been absolutely vicious to Muslims in India. And in one case, at least one protester was killed and 300 police officers were injured after tens of thousands of farmers, many driving tractors, took to the streets of New Delhi to call for the repeal of these new agriculture laws. The farmers, though, in that case, upstaged the city's National Republic holiday, storming the Red Fort, a 400-year-old landmark. So to your point, Cenk, they're being pretty strategic in how they do these protests. But what the government is also doing is they're closely monitoring people's behavior on social media. And if they see anything posted that is in any way supportive of these farmers and the ongoing protests, they're usually punished by it. They'll deal with authorities showing up and asking some questions and intimidating them. So there's an intimidation campaign by Modi's regime. There's no question about that. And it doesn't matter for the farmers. For them, this is a question of life or death, the ability to provide for themselves or find themselves even deeper in poverty. So they're not bending to Modi's will. But what's troubling is that Modi has absolutely no interest in listening to anything that they want. And he's pretty defiant about this effort to deregulate the agriculture industry.
Yeah, so look, there's also complexity in what's right wing and left wing in other countries too. But the one thing that is uniform is fake populists. So there's real populists like Bernie Sanders and many others throughout the world, right? And sometimes, like in Brazil, they'll be put in jail. And sometimes they'll have coups done against them, like in Bolivia by us. So there are real progressives in the world and real populists in the world, but far more fake populists like Modi. So Modi's a populist when it comes to killing Muslims, but when it comes to actually helping 50 to 60% of the Indian population, the average Indian, all of a sudden he loses his populism. All of a sudden he finds his checkbook, but can't find the populism. The murder I'm in, right? Oh, you want my buddies to lose $1 single? No. I'm gonna take away your ability to make money on the farms and I'm gonna share it with all my rich friends instead. Populist my ass, not anywhere near populist. And finally, I said it was almost like a siege of a castle, and they even went into an almost castle in the fort, the Red Fort. So, these fake populists in politicians in India, maybe they should study the history of India. They better be careful what they wish for, because no one leads better civil disobedience than the Indian population does. So watch out what you're messing with.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.